I want to welcome everybody to the very first episode of 5 Minute Football by Football Strategy Vault. Football Strategy Vault is a new website that aims to discuss the theory and strategy of the game of football. There are a ton of podcasts and videos and digital resources online now that contribute to educating both coaches and fans alike on this game that we're all so passionate about. And if I can contribute to that purpose in any way, I want to do it. I love talking ball. I love sharing ideas on scheme, philosophy, program management, all of the many aspects of coaching, and I'm excited about the opportunity to provide my thoughts and hear the thoughts of others. I am a high school football coach in the southeastern part of the United States, and I so often hear fans, specifically family members and friends of mine, who either lack understanding of why coaches make certain decisions or have misconceptions about game management, team management, scheme, play calling, etc. Now, at this point, I want to provide a disclaimer. These are only my thoughts. It doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong. I'm simply sharing the way I think about and process the game of football. Now let's dive into today's topic, and I apologize for the bad audio quality. That will improve as we go along with this deal. So, passing concepts, theory, and design. I think definitions are important. It ensures that everybody is speaking the same language, or at the very least, are on the same page. And first and foremost, with that in mind, we have to define what the word concept means. Now, different coaches have different definitions of the word concept as it applies to football. Most coaches define concepts by their route structure or blocking scheme. I don't. I think the term concept is broader than that. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor who is one of the most famous practitioners of the philosophy of Stoicism. In his book Meditations, Marcus Aurelius was having an internal dialogue with himself about what constitutes identity. In other words, what makes a thing what it is. And he said this: of each particular thing ask, what is it in itself? What is its nature? A concept, according to Webster's dictionary, is a principle or idea. So when I look at a passing play in football, I think, okay, what is the principle behind this play? What are they trying to accomplish? What does the scheme aim to do? To me, the structure, meaning the route combination employed by the offense, because we're talking about pass game scheme right now, the structure is incidental. In other words, the route combination is a means to an end, but it's not the point of the play. It just happens to be the method the coach has chosen to accomplish his goal. This naturally begs the question, all right, then what is the coach's goal? What is he trying to achieve? Now you're asking the right question. That's the question that will lead you to the concept of the play. The difference between those two variables I just discussed, what you see on the field versus what the coach is trying to accomplish, meaning the concept of the play, is essentially how I differentiate between scheme and concept. Simply put, and this is a little janky here, simply put, the concept is the what, the scheme is the how. Now, when Chip Kelly was the head coach at the University of Oregon, he installed a play that he called Saints. He named it Saints because he had seen Sean Payton and Drew Brees have great success with the play in New Orleans. When Coach Kelly installed it with his team in Oregon, he drew 5 circles on the field diagram. It looked something like this. Then he assigned each player a circle. He told them that no matter where they lined up, they had to run a route that got them into their assigned circle. So it didn't matter if you had a 2x2 set, a 3x1 set. He told one player, this is your circle, 1A. He told another player, this is your circle, 1B. And he structured it that way because those were the reads. This was a high low of a corner, what we would call a smash concept in coach lingo. And so that was read together. So he combined those first two reads. And then he told another player, number 2 is your circle. That's what you're trying to get to. Number 3 is your circle. That's where you got to get to. Number 4 is your circle. to where you got to get to. Each player had a circle. Of course, that's 5 circles for 5 eligible receivers offensively. And so no matter where they lined up, they had to get to that circle. Now, what the concept was coaches will know what I'm talking about. It was Y cross, but he made it look different, and he ran it out of a variety of formations. He was able to do that because everybody knew, okay, if I'm the X, my circle is 1A, which is deep on the left. Okay, if I'm the H, my circle is 1B, so it's shallow on the left. If I'm the Y, my circle is 2, so I know that it's intermediate on the left. And this is how he created concepts. This methodology is the premise of a concept-based passing game. There are really only 5 passing concepts in football. There are vertical stretches, horizontal stretches, triangular stretches, isolations, and rubs. We're going to really focus on the first 3 today because those are what I call the core concepts of football. So every route concept you see, whether it be at a high school game on Friday nights or while watching an NFL game on Sunday, falls under one of these 4 categories. Let's take a look at a few of these concepts on a diagram. This is kind of learning how to do this here. All right. So let's look at this. And before I do that, let me go back and review and say this. For non-coaches, vertical stretches stretch a defender vertically, meaning up and down. I'm going to put a route on top of the defender, a route underneath the defender. So imagine that there's a defender out here in the flats. Okay, and this is a good concept to illustrate this point because it's a triangular concept, meaning that it has elements of both a horizontal and a vertical stretch. So if there's a defender out here in the flat, let's say it's a corner. All right, the corner sitting out here where my mouse is. I got a route on top of him, route underneath him. That's a high-low. That's a vertical stretch. All right, now let's say that there's a linebacker out here where the 2 is on the diagram, if you can see that. I'm going to put a route inside of him and a route outside of him. That's a horizontal stretch. I'm stretching him side to side. So vertical stretches up and down, horizontal stretches side to side. Triangular stretches are a bit more complex in that they have elements of both horizontal and vertical stretches, and they're usually comprised of 3 routes that flood a specific area of the field. In this case, if you were to divide the field into thirds, you got a left third, a middle third, and a right third. Then the left third is what's being worked here. Okay, so this is the area that's being flooded, so to speak. And because of that that distinction, I also refer to these as flood concepts. So this is a flood concept. Here's your horizontal stretch with the snag and the arrow route. Here's your vertical component with the corner route. And then you've got a backside here as well. All right. And if we were to look at this backside, we would say this is more of a horizontal stretch. Imagine that there's a linebacker here where my mouse is on the hash, and we're putting a route inside and a route outside of him. Now, you could also argue that this is a vertical stretch because there's a route on top of him and a route underneath him. But the reason that I would classify it as a horizontal stretch is that both routes are moving in the same direction, and therefore you're not really truly isolating this defender from an up and down or a vertical standpoint. It's really more of a horizontal. There's more of a horizontal element. Most stretches are like this. They got elements of both, like curl flat. A curl flat has a vertical element to it. It's generally viewed as a vertical stretch, but it's also a horizontal stretch as well. All right, so just kind of scrolling down here. This is out of a 3-by-1 formation. Now, I'm going to scroll back up to the 2-by-2, and I want you to take a picture of this in your mind. All right, now I'm going to scroll back down to the 3-by-1. It looks slightly different because the way the Y gets to his spot over here is different. He runs a shallow route to get there instead of running a snag route. Okay, well, we had the X over here running a snag route earlier. Well, now we're bringing the Y from this side, and he's a shallow, but he's becoming the inside part of this flood scheme. It is still the same concept, though. It is exactly the same play, just out of a slightly different formation. Even the backside is the same. So this is where you have to be able to think about the game conceptually, in my opinion, as opposed to just rote memorization. This is what most coaches would refer to as a traditional flood concept. The difference here being that this is a corner route, not really a sail route, which is typically what you would see on this type of a route concept. A sail, again, for non-coaches would be more of a deep out. Usually it's a three-level concept, and there are three levels to this concept as well. There's a deep route, then there's an intermediate route, then there's an underneath route, and then they're adding an extra element here coming from the backside. So this is a big time flood protected by a post. This is a four verticals concept. Now, you could look at this two different ways. Typically, this is run against one safety in the middle of the field right here, okay, where my mouse is. And I'm going to get to the point where I can do telestration. This is my very first video, so it won't be quite as clean as it will be moving forward. But the mouse is here in the middle of the screen. All right, I've got a vertical route on the left. I've got a vertical route on the right. Both of those routes, as is typical for a four vertical concept, are near the hash. That is horizontally stretching or side to side stretching the safety. Now, you could also, if you isolate one half of the field, you take this outside half over here and you say, okay, what are we doing in the corner? Well, technically, we're doing the same thing. You got a route going outside of him because this is typically an outside release, and you got a route inside of him. So you could look at it as a horizontal stretch of the safety, which is normally what it is, or you could look at it as a horizontal stretch of the corner, although I've never viewed this play that way. I guess, theoretically speaking, you could. Now, this is the concept that we were talking about earlier. This is essentially what we call Y cross. All right, now let's think about this. Let's say that there's a corner out here in the flat. Okay, if there's a corner out here in the flat in this area where I just drew the blue box, there's a corner out here in the flat. We're going to put a route on top of him and a route underneath him. That's a smash scheme. Okay, so again, to me, the scheme really is the how. The concept is the what. Well, what are we trying to accomplish here? We're trying to create a vertical stretch on the corner, a route on top of him, route underneath him. All right. Then what are we creating here? Well, we're creating a vertical stretch on this apex defender, okay, or the flat defender. Depends on if your corners are playing deep or you're playing more of a trap coverage where it's a cover two look and the corners have flat responsibility with the safeties over the top playing deep. If the corner stays deep, then this defender is typically the flat defender. And so, what is this route combination between the option route and the line route over the top doing? Well, it's creating a vertical stretch on him. So, there's a corner vertical stretch. There is an apex vertical stretch right here. And then on the backside, look at this. You say, okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? We got a deep curl or a get open curl, as Chip Kelly called it, and then we got a swing. Well, that's a curl flat combination. It's probably the most basic route combination in football, and it's creating a high low on the apex defender on this side of the field. Okay. Now again, because the swing route's moving wide and because the curl's moving inside, it has elements of both a vertical and a horizontal stretch. But there are essentially three different stretches all in this same play: corner vertical, apex vertical on this side. So when you're looking at route concepts and you're trying to identify, okay, what makes a good route concept, those are the types of things that you're looking at. Now, the other two route concepts, those are the core three. Okay, a vertical stretch, a horizontal stretch, a triangular stretch. The other two, isolations and rubs, is something that we can look at in more detail moving forward. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. Take care.